off yet another insightful session on connecting the dots. First and foremost, we extend our gratitude to our esteemed speakers for their participation in this panel discussion. Mr. Suman Rudra, Chief Talent Officer at J. Sagar Associates, Ms. Parul Shah, Consultant Investments, HCC and Faculty at ICFAI Business School, Mr. Abhishek Gupta, Head HR and Admin at ZepPay, Mr. Sriraj Tate, Head of HR and Strategy at JSM Consulting, and Ms. Radhika Niranjan, Founder and CEO at RNI Associates. A very warm welcome to all. HRAI welcomes you all to the session on this insightful topic, the education work disconnect, rethinking campus to corporate readiness. To know more about HRAI and its events, I would request all our participants to visit the link and details posted in the chat window. I'm pleased to introduce our moderator for today's session, Ms. Radhika Niranjan, who will be guiding us through the discussion with her insights and expertise. Radhika Niranjan is the founder and CEO of RNI Associates, where she builds soulful, strategy-led workplaces that honor people beyond their roles. With nearly two decades in HR across telecom, fintech, media, and manufacturing, she blends deep expertise with live wisdom. Beyond titles, she is a career woman, mother, daughter, wife, and multitasker, navigating each role with grace, grit, and unwavering purpose. She leads with presence and empathy, mentoring founders and professionals through the soul work circle to rise in charity and truth, clarity and truth. For Adhika, success isn't just milestone. It's about creating real nurturing impact and being remembered as a good human who sparked meaningful change. To know more about Radhika, you can follow her on LinkedIn. The link has been shared in the chat window. We are excited to have her moderate this discussion today. Over to you, Ms. Radhika.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Faisal. And thank you, HRAI, for having this very, very insightful discussion today. Um, Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've all had an energizing day so far. And welcome to this much awaited panel discussion. This discussion explores how we can bridge the widening gap between education and employability. Let me give you a few stats. Only 8.25% of Indian graduates are really employed in the role that matches their qualifications. In many cases, more than half of the graduates are working in skilled jobs which are far lower than their educational level. 86% of employers are saying that entry level hires require a lot of additional training, needing to just succeed in their current roles, leave alone proceeding for promotions. So, how do we bridge this gap? This is the whole focus of our discussion today, and we are joined by our four eminent leaders who bring multi decades of industry experience across HR, finance, and strategic leadership. So, please welcome Mr. Suman Rudra. He is an accomplished HR leader with over 2 decades of national and international experience, having conceptualized and implemented HR strategies across sales, services, research and development, engineering, manufacturing, and offshoring. His expertise spans manufacturing, services, technology, and startups. Based in Mumbai, he stays energized through adventure sports, running, trekking, and singing. Warm welcome to you, Mr. Suman.
Thank you. Thanks, Radhika.
We're also joined by Ms. Parul Shah, a chartered accountant by profession with over 28 years in senior corporate finance roles at HCC Limited, Albright and Winston Limited, and Deloitte. She is renowned for her strategic financing expertise. She consults for family offices and corporates on capital markets, PE deals, and financial restructuring. Parul also teaches at leading B schools like IBS Mumbai, Wellingkers, and BSc Institute, and is a respected speaker among major finance forums globally. She's also an award winner, and we are really honored to have you, Ms. Parul. Next in line, we have Mr. Sriraj Tate, a dynamic HR leader who joins us from New Jersey, no less, with over 27 years of cross-industry experience, spanning industries like engineering, automotive, chemical, staffing, and IT services. An alumnus of Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, he's pioneered industry university programs, HR analytics, learning frameworks, and is recognized as an emerging leader. He's also a keynote speaker and respected thought leader in global HR forums. And last but not the least, please welcome Mr. Abhishek Gupta, an accomplished HR leader with over 15 years of experience across DP World, KFC India, Yes Bank, Capgemini, and Nokia Siemens Networks. He's currently heading HR and administration at ZPay, India's oldest crypto exchange, and is known for designing award winning programs and leading digital transformation with a people first approach. Welcome, all of you, and I hope that we have a great, engaging discussion bridging the gap between campus to corporates. So, let's begin with a small question. Each one of you have seen new hires up close, maybe in campus hiring programs or maybe as part of the faculty, right? So, can you share one memorable example where someone who was brilliant academically suddenly struggled at work because of a significant clear skill gap? Let's start with Suman.
Okay, thanks, Radhika. So, a very interesting topic, but I think what I would like to do is also start on a positive note. Okay. So instead of skill gap, I would say what I have seen in my experience is that freshers definitely are liked a lot because they bring a lot of fresh thoughts, enthusiasm, energy to the team and to the working environment. So hence, personally, have always been always been kind of a favorite of hiring freshers, and I have been also kind of very successful in getting them also integrated to the working life cycle. So always a thumbs up for freshers for me. Now coming to the challenges, yeah, I've seen that face some of the challenges, largely with respect to integration to work life, and that we will talk in detail. But largely at a high level, I would say in the last few years, post COVID, I would say that the changes have been largely, or the challenges have been largely focused on, I would say the demands of a corporate life. Okay, the challenges of a corporate life, which I think they are some of them are seem to kind of having trouble in adjusting to. So that is something I've seen, and I cannot blame them because something like that is not taught in any any college. Not there is no curriculum on on this, but I think more about that we will talk during this program. But I think I would like to leave it that as the first question. Thank you.
Understood. So, Parulji, your view on what is it that holds freshers back when it comes to adapting, taking on from where Suman left?
Yes. So, as Suman has already said, the bar, we are just starting with a positive note. It's great to have freshers to work for. Since I'm not an HR background, I can be very free here. When I appoint or recruit somebody, when I look at the domain, of course, I always evaluate that what is there, uh, basically how strong they are in their domain. But at the same time, what I believe the struggle is, and which as a recruiter, I take a lot of interest because I being in the functional department, I see to it that end to end they are given the objective. Once we land the any work on their table with a proper objective that this is what I want you to get, the end deliverable which is to expected, and then give them those tools to deploy or tools to make that possible. That is very important, especially the initial days how you handle, because as a individual they have not been exposed to it, though they have done their summer trainings, they have done their MBA programs, but they haven't sat on a live assignment which they believe that has to be done now. It's really very critically important that how we bridge that gap for initial few days. And every individual is different. Some learn it just in a few minutes, and some take good time. Most importantly, the communication part, as I have seen, has taken the longest time to bridge that gap. But at the same time, I appreciate that some are really very good at it, the soft skill part, where most of the colleges have taken it as a program. Of course, at IBS, we do it very extensively. So that I believe myself is the most important, that giving objective based, giving them tools, and then letting them open up and helping them through the whole tenure or whatever they are in for getting adapted to the communication part also.
Wonderful. Thank you. I can't help but agree because I remember there was a summer trainee who was brilliant while being a trainee, and when absorbed, froze at the time of a client presentation because wasn't sure how to go about communicating the right things because nobody told how to do it. So, I get where you're coming from. And even Sumanji, for that matter, I understand where you're coming from. So, Abhishek, your views on this. One example where you helped someone who froze out of the situation and into success.
I think to answer your question, Radhika, I myself is a campus product. A few years back, I myself hired more than 500 people across the top B schools and T schools of this country, including your Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta. What I realized, one thing that the question that you asked, one thing is basically what they struggled with. I think the one thing they struggled with is clearly the feedback. I don't think the colleges or campuses or anything else for that matter prepare them for the feedback. And when I say feedback, I'm talking about the real feedback, right? Once I had a Bangalore guy, who literally cried after the CFO told him on his face that the what you present is a crap, right? And that's how the CFO works, right? I mean, you can't really cry every time you come out of the CFO cabin. So, but
Yeah.
nobody told these things to everyone, right? How to take this feedback particularly. This is a skill that I think, and regarding the froze and all that stuff, well, they are absolutely great at their own content or the subject topic. But what they do not really understand is the ball can go in any side, right? So they'll be need to prepare. The one other thing that I really saw in people actually sometime, and there's a phrase in English which I don't know what it is good for, but it's my baby, right? There's a phrase in English, something, oh, I prepared this presentation. I have actually spent a couple of weekends on this, and now that I get the feedback is not that great, which is okay. That's how it happens in the real world, right? It's not about the grades that your professor must have given you, which is if you are not that great, okay, out of 7, out of 10, 7 is okay, right? So these two things, what I realize is they struggle with, and a lot of work needs to be done at the campus level. At least that's my belief is.
Okay, so basically navigating dynamics is what you're looking for among people because workplace dynamics can be different from campus dynamics, right? Cool. And Srirang, your take on the subject matter, since you have, I'm sure, gone through many campuses in your 27 years.
Yeah, Radhika. Thank you, first of all. So I actually started doing campus sometime in 2004. So what I have looked at then and now, more than the skill gap, the situations have changed little bit now. Back then, the issue of skill was on both sides, technical as well as communication. That has considerably been bridged. That's what I feel now. The challenge today for corporates and the student is the aspiration side, because everybody wants to go for a higher pay, higher role, higher responsibilities, more on-site opportunities. So these aspirations for corporates, basically to manage these aspirations is probably a big challenge right now, because there is a lot of investment that goes in hiring, onboarding, and then bringing them at par in their work areas. So if looking at those aspirations, I think there is a challenge on the corporate side as well. But on the skill side, I think one experience I had was hiring from a tier 2 city, tier 2, in fact, tier 3 city way back in 2006-7. This person was excellent in his technical side, on the IT side, I would say, and but struggling on the communication skills. So all the client calls he was attending initially, there used to be a lot of gap in understanding what the client wants to say or communicate. So That part, gradually got addressed because we had a separate program introduced for people enhancing their communication skills, and this person got inducted into it, and gradually he made a astounding progress in about 3 to 5 months. But yeah, I think overall it's been a classical problem. I would say it's been there for at least last 2 decades, what I have seen. Thank you.
Wonderful. So that brings me to a clear definition of how the disconnect looks like between campus and corporates, right? So if I have to put it this way, that, we need to define this disconnect between campuses and corporates. Uh, Abhishek, let's hear from you. In your experience, what are the top three gaps? You touched upon it in the first question, but if I have to say, rank it in like, one, two, and three, the top most, what are the top three gaps that you see between what campuses teach and what companies really need? You've already touched upon some part of it, but I'd like you to elaborate a little bit more for the
Sure.
audience.
Sure. Thank you, Radhika, for this. I think a couple of things that I really believe is, first of all, as I said, the ability to take the feedback. The second is very, very important, is basically the ability to thrive in a very ambiguous environment. In the campus, you get a very specific assignment and you do it, and that's it, right? Life is not that white or the black and white. Here you're working with half spreadsheet sometime. Sometime you're using a lot of guts, especially in a startup environment like mine, where we don't have the annual goals, right? We have 6 monthly goals because we don't know how the industry will evolve in the next 6 months, 3 months, and a year. So the working with the ability with working with the ambiguity is very, very important. That's where I think I feel that's something which is very, very different in the corporate when you start your life and when you are in campus, apart from the having the feedback thing particularly. Third thing I would like to focus is basically is having an approach which is very comprehensive thinking. And I, in my view, because I take these sessions, there's something called Campus to Corporate, which is a flagship session I deliver to multiple campuses. One thing is about the comprehensive or strategic thinking, as we talk about, right? How comprehensively are you thinking? In campus, you may not get that kind of a exposure, but when you're coming to the corporate side, or for that matter working side, let me put it that way, there are a lot of repercussions of having of your decisions, which in the campus you may not realize, right? That is very, very important for me. These two three things, something is a disconnect which I think a lot of campuses are working in, and I have answers also to how they can build, but I think that's probably we can continue if there is a time. Otherwise, these three things I think that every campus should focus on.
Right. So in paraphrase, first is ability to work under ambiguous situations,
Yes.
got clarity,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the third you said was clear communication.
The
Also,
ability, the second is the feedback, ability to take feedback,
ability
positive,
to
negative,
absorb
in the
feedback.
right spirit. And the third thing, basically, how strategic or how comprehensive one thinks is something which is very, very important. Not really very one-dimensional linear thinking.
Okay. So basically think out of the box and think on the spot. Think on your feet.
Yes, many
Cool.
times.
Parulji, let's hear from you, your take, considering you have corporate as well as campus experience on how this disconnect is clearly seen and how we can bridge it.
Yeah, definitely. And also where it helps me because I see my students the way I want my employees who come for jobs, and therefore there is a lot of connecting dots which I then put to use when I'm in my academic sessions. The first, which rightly put, is providing continuous data. The data they analyze, the moment you start giving them the data and they work on it, there is a inability of that individual to work when the data has to be worked upon or sought upon at the real-time workplace. And this is where I see that a lot of the failures which happens, especially in the fresher community, is arising of this reason that they are unable to associate or dig out, as rightly Abhishek pointed out, that where is the data, what is my inclusion, and where am I actually heading towards. So the most important, I believe, the gap which I have seen personally is real real-time analytical abilities where students really fall short of it. How do I mitigate that? Of course, whenever you take up the question, I'll tell you, because I deploy myself when I teach my students. Of course, but I'm running an MBA program, so graduate students are definitely not aware of those. And second most important, what I believe is the new age, which I see the generation gaps. The outcome is that the freshers who are just entering the job places are unable to, get, uh, I say, a factor of convenience which they had at the campus. They completely lose it. They do not know how to get involved. They are unable to self regulate themselves. There is no persistence. They feel that they are left out for no reason. I don't think it is so, but there is a lot of the personal, what you call emotional social equation, which is really lacking at this individuals who are just out from their graduate programs or an MBA program or whatever you define. So though they're very, very strong in their domain, they're very strong in their functional capabilities, but when it comes to merging or getting involved with the people around them with across various age groups, they fail miserably. There again, as I told you, very few get handholding and they are left. Otherwise, they feel they're in a zoo where every individual besides them is a different animal. They're not, because they have been on campus so well protected. Yeah. And I feel these are the major two things which I have seen as a huge challenge and which actually makes the freshers as nervous as you can believe. Apart from that, I see some are equally overconfident, but again, they come back to their area or comfort zone soon when they realize that world is different here and every day is a challenge. So that is one thing I believe that I have seen as real big gaps when it comes to moving from corporate to from campus to corporate.
All right. So clearly, what I understand from here and what I have observed in my career as well is students are insulated, protected by structure and continuous guru advice. And when they come to corporates, they flounder because that's what they feel are not available to them on call, especially the latest generations, Z, Alpha, Beta, and all of them. So let's figure out what in Suman, your opinion makes our next generation and the current crop of people who are coming out, graduating, real world ready. Because they
Okay.
need to be, right? Otherwise, how do they survive and thrive? So, if you were to design maybe one mandatory real world test, readiness test for fresh graduates, postgraduates, what would it include beyond the textbook knowledge that they already carry? Because they are strong in their domains. We all agree.
Okay. So I think before I go to that, but let me take up the case for uh, the fresh graduates also. And I think what I want to say is that I think we will all realize that the environment in today's environment that they're entering the corporate life is very, very different from even an environment 5 years ago and 10 years ago. Today, everybody, including us, are grappling with things like AI and the impact of AI on the careers of people. Now, many of us would have already traversed our career and we may be in a much comfortable position. May not think too much about it, but think about a fresher who gets to read day in and day out about how AI is going to impact careers for them in the coming times. Okay. So what I would like to say is that the environment has changed dramatically and drastically, and it is keeping on changing every day. Okay. It's a very totally different world they're entering the corporate life, and hence the complexity that they are dealing with besides the work life, besides the working environment and corporate challenges are multifold compared to what we did. Okay. So having said that, I would say that one of the things which I feel which will make them kind of real world ready is the transition that they have to do from being a self you know accountable person to being accountable to multiple people. Okay, so what I want to say is that in an academic life, in a college, I think you are only accountable to self. That means if you get results, you are good. If you don't get results, it's up to you only. Nobody else is going to have a problem with you, except for your parents, maybe. But that doesn't work in corporate life. Okay. You are accountable to self is maybe a fraction of what you are accountable for, because the the other ecosystem which are there, like for example, your clients, your customers, or your manager, or your team members, um, your peers, everybody else you are accountable for besides your own self. Okay, because the work you do, okay, the output you produce or responsibility you carry directly or indirectly leads to somebody's success or somebody's failure. Okay. It is not working in isolation, which typically happens in a college. I have to pick up a book, study, go give an exam, get my score, I'm done. Okay. I'm not accountable to anybody. My doesn't worry if my peer or my friend is passing or failing. Okay. But here the transition is different. I think this is the biggest transition that they have to do, and this is a real world challenge. And I have seen some of the people are not able to do this quickly or understand it quickly because they are still into the mode of my success and my results and my goals and my objectives. Okay, and hence sometimes they are working in silos. They are not able to collaborate. They're not able to share information. Communication is both receiving and also giving information. Okay, so sharing information about what is happening, the progress, and kind of and making bonds with people despite having no nothing common with them. I mean, normally in a college, what happens? We make friends with people whom we kind of get aligned with. Something is common. In corporate, you may have nothing in common, but you are there in the same team. Okay, but you still have to work with that person. Okay, so there is nothing called friendship. It is professional working relationship that you have to develop, and that is the real world, I think, challenge they have to kind of overcome. They have to kind of surpass. So I think this one to many, the transition is from one to many. Accountability is the most important, and there is one solution to it. I mean, you cannot tell them that you start doing it from tomorrow; they will start doing it. Okay. I think what I've seen is that help from multiple aspects, can help definitely. The seniors in the team can help and guide them. Sometimes we have also experimented with a concept called buddy, in which buddy is somebody who is not directly related to his work, but somebody whom he can relate to and help and give him the, I would say, the informal feedback or informal guidance to do things. Whom is comfortable, not sometimes people not are always not comfortable reaching out to the managers, don't know what is the right thing to ask or do. But buddy may be something they're more comfortable to, almost like a peer, okay, helping him. So I think that kind of help is there. Uh, and also, I think during the first 2 years, I mean, going even to 3 years, there are certain trainings that we have, kind of, we have formulated to give them, to kind of build some of the skills. So, be it the skills of how to work collaboratively, be it skills of, how to work in a team, what are the different, aspects of working in a team. Conflict resolution is one big problem, because even a small thing can create conflict, which can be a personality problem, nothing to do with work again, but creates a major problem in the work. Okay. So how to resolve conflict, mutually amicably. So some of these, I think, small, I would say, behavioral nuggets, in form of either a training program or in form of a uh, discussion or in form of some kind of a session to just get these things out and discuss openly. It's something we are experimenting with, and I think we are getting some success here. And there is one more initiative, but I think I would like to keep it reserved for maybe the next question, which we are doing largely at a institute and a corporate level tie-up. Okay, so not just to the people who are joining us as freshers, but also going beyond and kind of reaching out to some colleges and universities and started doing that.
Wonderful. So I will come back to you for that question because I have something in mind for that for the audience. But before we proceed further, there are a few questions that I see on the chat box, which I would also like to bring up at the end of the conversation. I hope that's okay with the audience. So I have three questions here already, one from the legal recruiter perspective and one from an audience student perspective. So that's coming. Speakers, please make note. Uh, Coming back to our conversation, see, I understand that we need to help our next generations become, real world ready. And Suman, you've expressed beautifully where all they need help. Now, let me ask Srirang, have you come across any college program or partnership that actually gets this right? Because most masters in colleges, Parul, I'll come to you as well with this question, do focus on soft skill readiness, do focus on aspects like team building. But does any of these programs really get it right the first time? Have you had any experience? And if certain things are going right, what are they? And if certain things need to be done differently, what are they? So, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you again, Radhika. Um, just going back to the previous discussion that we were having, I'll quickly take a less than a minute here. So pressure of expectations and pressure of aspirations is something that has been a common constant since last two and a half decades with all these students, and the industry has become more and more demanding, as Suman rightly said. So the aspect of going into academics is to get a job, right? And that's where the pressure starts to happen from their first year of education in itself. um, and that's where maybe the academia on a part and the corporates on their part are trying to do a little bit in terms of holding communication sessions, training sessions, that could help calm down the people that there is a life beyond this as well. That is the first aspect that I have noticed significantly in the last few years. um, Now, if I have to talk about overall about the question that you asked, Radhika, I'm looking at all the industries. We all know that last two and a half decades, IT has ruled the roost, and most of the jobs, most of the employment has come from that industry. I come from a mechanical engineering background. I started my life working in '97. So the problem that I faced then, which I believe is still prevalent right now, is most of the colleges may not have the infrastructure to match the manufacturing setup, right? Now, so there are workshops and everything where kids can get the first hand feel of how to make a job, like that. Um, but overall, if we look at it, whether it is IT, banking, manufacturing, retail, the exposure to the industry has to happen much before they enter the job search area. And that's where I believe one of the major um, introductions that I personally had when I was in campus was the introduction of internships. So that kind of gave a very strong feel of a real world environment to the students while they were in their academia. So those 6 months, 3 months, whatever exposure they got on the job as an intern gave them that right feel that, oh, I mean, there is a different world beyond what I see in the four walls of my college. So internships, I believe, I strongly suggest, I propagate that this is something that can help not only the students but also reducing the cost for the corporates. That is one thing. The other part, which I believe most of the corporates have been taking, is the curriculum, I would say, upliftment or changes in the curriculum. That gap, I believe, in my personal experience, will never be met. Because today we are talking of AI, ML, the introduction will happen now, but the need was maybe a couple of years back, right? So, but I see that corporates are making a very conscious effort to be on the advisory boards, the curriculum committees of most of this academia to give a real world expectations of what is happening. And this is good for all the industries, like I said, manufacturing, retail, banking, IT, of course. So that close knit collaboration between academia and corporate on these initiatives, I feel certainly will bridge the gap that we are discussing today, a very peculiar problem that has been happening for so long. So internships, I think academia changes over a period of time, and something on those lines, I think, will definitely be a game changer.
Wonderful. And Parul, what do you feel? Will you know making the academic curriculum more reflective of actual industry? How does that help, you know, shift the mindset? Because since the first question we'll be talking about certain mindset shifts which are also required at the part of the student to adapt to the corporate environment.
Very true. So as I told you, since I represent both the sides, I have been 28 years in a corporate, so I'm teaching for last 8 years. The focus here is, first of all the new recruiters or people who have joined, we do a very extensive incubation and training programs. We see to it that we do one at the organization level where we make them familiar with the systems which we deploy. Second, we also give them a very extensive training within the domain, also the functional. Like if I'm using Bloomberg, if I'm using my SAP, if I'm using other tools, and it's ever engaging with the new technology things which keeps coming, we give them also a very hands-on experience. And this we do it as a curriculum extension. So we do not put them to work until they have done this at least 2 weeks, 1 week, where they find the comfort zone. So all these defined programs are there. We run it for a couple of weeks and then they come to the mainstream and then they get absorbed in their respective sections. Again, they are guided for first few where we run the SOPs with them very thoroughly. So I know because I myself have changed 4 5 companies since Deloitte. SOP becomes the most critical, especially the startups or the new age companies do not have any. They just leave them wild, which becomes very difficult to get the required output. So where I expect a positive feedback from the work given to me, I also need a standard operating procedure, a treasury policy if I'm in my treasury department, investment policy if I'm in an investment department. We just can't have them make decisions without they knowing what decision they're making for, right? So these are a few things at the corporate side, which I think HR and TD department, training and learning and development department should look at, which we do it very thoroughly. And at my academia level, I have integrated this exactly into my curriculum, where we see that we run a lot of mock tests. So we keep on doing mock programs where we give them live training on how the situation is. And when we do the mock programs, we don't do it as a professor or as a teacher. We invite the corporate interface. So this gives them the edge, that they cannot hide and they cannot escape the feedback mechanism because it is only me and my performance as a student feels. That is left at one corner when they get the harsh reality of what the world is expecting. So let's say a few corporates of, they come, they sit in our campus, they do this mock interviews and they give them the fireworks, what, they typically haven't ever prepared for. These are few things which we have integrated very well. We have opened up the Bloomberg Terminal Lab. So we have 12 terminals in our 3 campuses. We have in total 9 campuses across India. But in Bombay and Hyderabad, we have integrated Bloomberg terminals, which definitely scale up. And here in Bloomberg Terminal Lab, we run it as a lab. So what we do is, while we are experimenting with the data which is given by the academicians, that is professors, we also take data from the live markets or live corporates. And we get that process the way is expected by the is a company which has given to us and give them back so that they can work upon it. Here, what it happens, it exactly bridges and the student is aware that what was my input, what was my outcome, and how is it going to be used by that organization. This is most critical. I know many people giving a task to the fresher or an individual who has just come, he doesn't know what to do. They don't want to risk giving them some important task, so they give some very minimal task, and they say, okay, go get this completed and give it to me. Yes, but while you're giving that, have you ever outlined that what is the outcome which you expect, and what should be the reference sources which he should look at, and he or she, and then when they come back with it, how are you going to use it? Did you tell them that? So this becomes very important, where we expect feedback continuously as if we are a student. We should also engage in the feedback, and that is what we are promoting at our academic levels. And at corporate level, I told you, we come up with a lot of high end kind of incubation training, where we try to see that they give the best results when it comes to the performance of an individual.
Absolutely. And from the HR fraternity, I can tell you that, you know, while I agree with Abhishek that not every time everything can be defined, too much of ambiguity can also deter somebody before they enter and become part of the fabric. So, those are some great insights. Uh, but this brings me to another question. Suman, you made a brief mention of AI is disrupting everything, and people are now worried how their careers will land. So I want to take this question to Abhishek, because you are now actively in the campus recruitment space. You just mentioned you hired 500 plus people. So I want to know, how do you, select your campus hires, especially given that emerging technologies are, you know, evolving, curriculums are changing, there is a very fast paced change and there is a serious mismatch. Even Srirang mentioned that what we learned 20 years ago is not true today at all. Right. So, how do you manage this kind of disruption and the lag that curriculum has in the hires that you want to choose for your respective roles?
There are two parts of your question which I understand. One is basically how I hire, and second is how I see the gap between these two things. I think Parul have spoken in detail about what these gaps are. I also understand. I believe, and myself is working with the campuses. One of them is I ICFI Business School in Mumbai also. I just delivered a lecture a week back on MBTI. I think
That's wonderful.
colleges, thank you. Colleges need to understand that they need to partner the industry as much as if possible, equally if not, because that's important. The things are changing very fast, and there's a speed that by which they can change, right? The different entities. So colleges cannot corporate cannot be colleges, as simple as that. So we cannot equate both of them. Colleges have certain protocols to adhere to, certain their realities of the ecosystem. But the ideal that I see is while matching both or marrying both the requirements, where industry is coming forward to participate with the campuses to teach students about what they need, maybe giving them certain edge before even they join on the day one, which is day one is your when they join the company, right? So this is a way while corporate can partner with with the campuses. I personally take a lot of sessions for the students, campus to corporate. On the subject side as well. I'm part of the BOS for a couple of colleges, Board of Studies. I'm part of the Placement Advisory Council for a couple of colleges, because I like to be involved with the academics, because that's where I get my passion for as well. And this is just because I believe that it's my responsibility, not any obligation on me. Similarly, a lot of corporates has to come forward and say, yes, boss, we will help. And similarly, campuses also need to move forward and say, yes, we just come together and design what you need, right? That's the way that we can go ahead. What I see, for me, I think one non-negotiable thing is the passion. If you are not having if this webinar is being heard by any TPO or student itself, I think one thing is very important is when I see the passion in the people, passion in the student. If they know about me, let's say if ITC on the campus, then they actually know about everything is possible under the domain which is available on public domain of ITC. Have they actually made that effort? Or it's just like because I belong to an SIBM or I'm an SMHRD guy, or I just because ITC anyway will come to my campus and I'll just in the fine morning will show up with ITC and ITC will select me because who else they will select, right? So probably that's where I'm not very comfortable with. I think a passion is something I need. Skills I can build, competence I can build, functional competence I can definitely build, but I cannot build the passion. I cannot make the passion. So I think these things I really look when I hire, and this is the way I think the campus and academia can come together and can make a very huge difference.
Wonderful. So effectively, what you're suggesting and what Parul just said is it's not only about co-designing curriculum modules or giving a occasional donation of your time towards a guest lecture. It is about creating mentoring circles where students and corporate entities actually engage actively and exchange views. Fabulous. Which brings me to the next part of it, which is a question, Sumant, we held for. Uh, there are corporates who I know are going to campus assuming that it's one of the tick boxes that they hired a couple of people as part of their CSR checklist. How do we ensure corporates also look at investing in the campuses with a return on investment clearly identified?
Yeah. So I think Radhika, thanks. I think as I said, that I would like to give the example of a partnership that have been successfully doing last now 3 years now. Now, as we have found out that I think the area for you know for the students to develop was more on the behavioral side, okay, and try to manage the transition. So what we have worked with some of the national law colleges, Nalsar, Hyderabad, and also Jindal College at Sonipat, uh, uh, is that we have worked out a elective program, okay, and the elective program has credits. It's not, like attend daytime, it's your choice or something. Obviously, it's a choice, elective. But once you are opted for the elective, it has a credit, which, goes into your final mark sheet. So we have created a curriculum, and the curriculum largely is based about uh, successful traits of a, or personality traits of a successful lawyer. Okay, and then we have one of our senior partner who have volunteered time to do this credit course. And this course goes for almost, I think, some 15 to 20 hours. Okay, and he is resident at the campus for a week, 10 days. Okay, and he's delivering that program for 2 hours per day, or whatever is the schedule. Okay, and he does this at two big campuses. Okay, so what has happened is that the program has over a period of time achieved traction, and now we see more uh, kind of students getting enrolled into the program. And for us, it's a we are not expecting any ROI from this. It's not a uh, money gainer from this. This is totally done voluntarily, from our side. The only thing that we get from a brand perspective is maybe the little bit more information and knowledge about what kind of work as a firm we are doing, and little bit more interest for them to kind of come and attend our internship programs, which we do it, throughout the year. So that's the ROI leverage we have. But otherwise, we are not expecting any special 0 day privilege. Neither are we expecting any money. But I think this is one example we have seen successfully happening, and some of the newer, I would say, colleges or which are more independent and more have a more, I would say, freedom to design curriculum, which creates this corporate industry, corporate college interface. So I think some of that is an opportunity for us.
Thank you. In fact, there was one thing I can relate to as well. I was speaking about how RNI came into existence 4 months ago. One of my missions is to ensure our campus to corporate journey becomes that much more seamless because two things that I observe clearly is corporates and campuses need each other because those are the demand supply for each one of them, right? And having said that, there are realities that students need to adapt to. Getting overwhelmed is not an option at all, given that that's the way you make your future. So, when corporates go to campuses, they go with an objective to find contributors for themselves while giving their knowledge. And the students who come to corporate find a life for themselves. So it's a win-win if both participate. Cool. And now for the blind spots. So, Srirang, over to you. Where do you feel is the soft skill blind spot? Because hard skills can still be found. You find codes now on Google also, and ChatGPT is the next Google that people are using.
University. Yeah. So so what's happening, Radhika, is that the overall mantra that I used to follow earlier was, and I still believe in it, that you um, hire for attitude, train for skills. Okay. But what happens with that is that it puts a lot of pressure on the corporate, because then everything comes on them, right? That said, the technical part, the technical skills are more or less acquired by the individual during their academia, more or less. A lot of points that all the other speakers have spoken is on the soft skills side, which is where the expectations are on the higher end. Simply for a reason that um, the kids who study today in the colleges on the technical academia and all those kind of things, getting together what are the corporate expectations, right? So Abhishek mentioned his experience on the campus side, where we are hiring management graduates. The expectation is on a different level. If I am hiring a fresh graduate who's coming out of engineering, the expectation is different. It is more to do with the technical part. So the soft skill responsibility is as much a responsibility of the professors, the universities, the corporate, but it is more important for the individual. And to help them out, I think a couple of things that can be done are certainly introducing the mentoring sessions. Corporates can spend more time, collaborating with universities, which I believe a lot of companies are doing nowadays. That they have, the senior corporate professionals entering into the academia, and they are spending a lot of time helping these individuals, the students, about the real world expectations, what happens basically in the corporate side, what are the expectations, the client call that I mentioned to you, right? Funny stories go happen. Everything becomes very overwhelming for them, and like Abhishek, Suman, Parul, they all mention on these points that the industry expectations, the technical side, you can still get it, with some more handholding. Soft skill is a very difficult area, to cover up. So going through those real world scenarios and introducing them in the academia as a curriculum itself definitely will help, because that would give them a real world experience. It has to become like a subject, so that they take it more seriously. Otherwise it becomes a by the way area to look at. Okay, this is something that I will take care of it later, let me first finish everything else, and then I'll answer the questions on soft skills later. So I believe that would bring a huge change. People, until we put it as a subject, maybe, I don't know if I am correct in that annotation, but that would give it more importance and seriousness.
Cool. So my small intervention here is that soft skills are everyone's job to teach and learn. My own, because I need to succeed more than anybody else. My family, because my family shapes my values. My professors, because they embed the frameworks that set me up for success in corporates. And the corporates, because they want me to succeed for them to succeed. So soft skills is everyone's responsibility, guys. Uh, I think all of us contribute to that. And the rapid fire, before we take the last three questions which have come up over there, complete the sentence, each one of you, in any order of your choice. If our graduates really want to be future ready, they must stop dash and start dash. What, fill in the blanks. What must they stop and what must they start? Soft skills is a software. Dr. Rajeshwari, with you there. Okay, so what
Stop,
must our
stop complaining and start collaborating.
wonderful. Okay, Parul.
Stop screen time, media pages, YouTube watching, and start learning. I think that's the most important.
Too good. Abhishek, your take.
If our folks really wanted to be future ready, stop chasing perfect instructions and start owning messy challenges.
Excellent. And Shriran, your take.
I would say stop putting too much pressure. Life takes its own course. Everything works fine. Just 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 start enjoying your academia. Start looking forward to your life in a positive way. That's I would like to summarize.
Okay. And in a nutshell, if I have to give any kind of advice in my limited capacity, I would say stop overthinking and start listening as is. In short, when somebody gives you a feedback that, listen, this could have been better or this is crap in real words, take that feedback for the presentation, not for you, and move on, learn from there. That stops the overwhelm, right? So there are a few questions. We have 5 minutes. Can I just give those questions to the respective speaker, please?
Yeah, we can take one or two.
Okay, so the question is, okay, so we have addressed them in some ways, but I would still like to say, wanted to check if any model during college, especially the end of the term, would help in being more aware and prepared about the corporate expectations, because internship does not always give the right picture, especially because of duration limitations. So, Parul, do you want to take this up?
Yeah, so Suman, I believe that none of the graduation programs have this expectations met. Unfortunately, Radhika told us that 20 years have changed, but nothing has changed at the syllabus level. So there's a big gap, and that is seriously, I don't know what is our country heading to, but yes, you have to look for some continuous certifications. Many are available in the outside world. Excellent programs are available. You should attend more seminars and more interactive corporate, like what you're doing right now today. And of course, if God willing, you should enroll into a business school program, because that is where your last hand holding happens. Because the whole the focus here is to make you an individual which you would like to be super ready for the jobs, and we try to give you that future readiness.
Wonderful. And one last question. What advice would you give students or freshers who feel overwhelmed by the shift from campus to corporate? Suman, Abhishek, Sriran, any of you who would like to take this up?
Well, I think there's nothing. I mean, the one line advice is that life has just started. Okay. So take it easy, but definitely have some guidance from some, like, some experienced people. Make some mentor friends, make some buddy friends. Besides your, casual, casual friends. You need to have friends for all purpose of life. So make friends for creating some learning and creating and doing this transition to corporate life also. Thank you.
Excellent. So, as we wrap up, I would just want to leave you with this thought. Over 91% of our Indian graduates are believed to be unemployable. Not true. We can certainly transform that image. All we need is bridge the gap with clarity, confidence, and real world application, taking the wisdom that our esteemed panelists today have given, right? So I would thank all of you wonderful panelists for your incredible wisdom and the way you have aligned expectations, particularly what is a student insulated against and what is the real world expectation that they need to match. Um, Soft skills means personality development. That's absolutely true, because
I just answered a few questions which you left out. So
yes,
I think
thank
we
you.
cover
Thank you so
everything.
much, Parul. And as I said to all the audiences who are here, thank you for being such an engaged audience. And I hope that this session is very useful to you. Please give a huge round of applause to all our panelists and all of you. Okay, over to you, Faisal.
Thank you, Radhika. Your thoughtful guidance, seamless flow of conversation, and engaging questions played a vital role in making the discussion insightful and impactful for everyone involved. A big thanks to all our speakers. Your perspectives and experience added tremendous depth to the discussion, helping us and our audience better understand the evolving expectations and challenges in bridging the gap between academia and industry. The clarity, thought leadership, and actionable takeaways you shared were truly appreciated and will undoubtedly help drive meaningful conversations and change in this space. For those eager to revisit today's insights, the session recording is available on our YouTube link shared in the chat window. A special thanks to our event partners, Geisha, NASCOM COE, Talgro, TLE, WICCI, LinkedIn Local Ahmedabad, and India for their invaluable support in making this event a success. To learn more about these associations, please refer to the links provided in the chat window. We look forward to welcoming you to our next session on the topic hiring without degrees, reimagining talent acquisition in the skills first era on July 17, 2025. With that, we conclude today's webinar. Thank you for being part of this journey. Wishing you good health, positivity, and success until we meet again. Take care and farewell.
Thank
Thank you.
you and happy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you for
everyone. Thank you.
inviting.
Have a good day ahead.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.